But first, let me take you through Tina Brown's reporting. She writes, "At last, Princess Angela, this is clearly taking a toll on William, who thought that he had finally moved away from all of the psychodrama with Prince Harry. His brother had made his decision. He was going to be exiled, and it was for political reasons and everything anyway. And I know he's going through a lot, but seriously, if he still goes ahead with this meeting, P. Dinah, I really think he needs his head read."
Absolutely.
It all began with something so quiet that most people barely noticed it. A subtle change slipped onto the official royal family website, so small it could have gone completely unseen unless you were paying very close attention.
Everyone thought, William thought that everyone was with him, and all of a sudden, it's flipped on its head. And so I want to take you through this reporting from Charlotte Griffiths, who...
For years, that site proudly displayed long, detailed biographies of every working royal, covering their education, careers, and charitable roles that made them seem so admirable to the public. But when October 1st, 2025 arrived, everything suddenly looked different.
Beneath contempt that they are just exiled from the conversation, a non-person. And William was comfortable in this zone, but what's happened now is, of course, Harry's back in the country. Harry's seeing his father.
Harry and Meghan's pages weren't simply shortened, they were stripped bare. Every trace of the once detailed sections vanished in silence. Gone were the long notes about her education, that so-called dual degree from Northwestern, and the endlessly debated internship in Argentina. Even the parts about Harry's shaky academic history at Eton disappeared. What was left behind felt cold and empty, just a plain description of Meghan as a former actress best known for Suits, along with a small mention of her old lifestyle blog.
It's very much pro-Harry now, and this is the headline from the Mail's reporting. If you mention him, he'll throw you out of the room, while William is more determined than ever to cut Harry out of his life, as Charlotte Griffiths reveals how he's been driven to rage by...
For Harry, the edits were just as precise and calculated. Only the harmless, neutral details were left standing, as if everything risky had been carefully erased. At first glance, it might seem like the palace was simply giving its website a little spring cleaning, but when you look closer, the real picture changes completely. It wasn't about organizing old bios, it was about pure damage control.
So having to have discussions with William about their events clashing, which has happened all this week. And of course, you know, William is furious. He's in no mood to repair relations with his brother.
The monarchy clearly understands what everyone else has already figured out. Meghan's picture-perfect past is full of gaps that just don't add up. And Harry's schooling, that's been shadowed by controversy for years. By wiping those details away, the palace seems to be quietly saying, "We're done trying to defend this."
Yeah, he would throw somebody out of the room if they mentioned his name.
I mean, Brittany, quite a lot for you to pick up on there, but it isn't a surprise to me at all, as I have been very...
They didn't correct the record, they didn't release any official statements, they just deleted everything in silence. And that silence screams louder than words. It leaves one burning question: why now? The answer might rest in how fiercely Meghan has worked to reshape her own story, bending the truth to fit her version of events.
...turn plan. And she writes, Prince William has doubled down on his resolve to cut Prince Harry out of his life in the wake of his brother's Clarence House rapprochement with the king. It's been exactly a year.
She once claimed she spent her 1999 grad night at Disneyland, describing it as a sweet, nostalgic rite of passage. But there's one major problem. The school itself confirmed that no official grad night even took place that year. Too few students signed up, so the entire trip was canceled. If anyone went, it was purely on their own, not as part of a school event. Yet, Meghan has continued to share this story over the years, treating it like undeniable truth.
In my reporting, William believes that Harry should be treated as a royal exile. He should never return. And so, yeah, I guess that does mean he is a non-person. And of course...
And Harry, always the devoted partner, has even supported her claims during interviews. For the palace, seeing these stories spread must have been absolutely infuriating. Then came the so-called Argentina chapter. Meghan has often portrayed that brief stay in Buenos Aires as a dazzling official internship at the U.S. Embassy, but those who were truly there tell a very different version. It wasn't an official government placement at all.
Switches in the media say, oh, William is the one who's so horrible. But sometimes, Brittany, there are consequences to it.
It turns out that so-called internship was really just a family favor. Her uncle used his connections to let her shadow a few diplomats for a couple of weeks. But here's the kicker. Argentina in 2002 was a nation in turmoil. Riots filled the streets, the economy was collapsing, and security alerts were everywhere. Embassy workers weren't allowed to wander freely, let alone attend glamorous tango nights like Meghan has suggested. Yet, she's described it as if she spent a dreamy semester sipping wine and perfecting her Spanish. That story just doesn't add up.
Strategy has come to fruition with his father. He is no longer closer to contact with his brother. Indeed, Harry's success in the UK last week means the future king is burning with a renewed determination to rid.
The inconsistencies don't end there. They keep piling up. At Northwestern University, Meghan has often claimed she earned a double major in theater and international relations. But here's the problem. Northwestern doesn't even have a major in international relations. The closest option is international studies, and that small detail changes everything. Even more surprising, official records hint that she may not have completed her final semester at all. That revelation makes her academic story look shakier than ever.
Very clear that he would lose William if he crossed those red lines, and of course he did. But what do you make of this new reporting about how William is actually feeling?
She didn't appear in the 2003 graduating class yearbook photo, and staff members confirmed she wasn't even on campus at that time. None of it matches the story she's been telling for years. The tale of proudly earning a dual degree she loves to mention, something about that just doesn't fit.
To me, it makes a lot of sense, Dan, because at this point, Harry is no longer part of the monarchy. He no longer has really, or should have.
And while Meghan's exaggerations often steal the spotlight, Harry isn't off the hook either. Rumors about his days at Eton have been circulating for years, casting a long shadow over his academic record. It's been said he struggled so much that one of his teachers actually stepped in and wrote an art essay for him just so he could pass.
That's what you should be doing. Here's the well-placed insider telling telegraphers, William is back at the point where if you mention Prince Harry in his presence, he would throw you out of the room. He is doubling down. She writes,
that teacher was eventually dismissed and even took legal action against the school, claiming she was punished for speaking out and revealing too much. If those allegations hold any truth, it means Harry should never have been eligible for Sandhurst, the prestigious military academy that shapes Britain's finest. And yet, he got in anyway, seemingly helped by the quiet power of the monarchy, working behind the scenes to keep the Spare's reputation looking perfectly polished.
And so for William, the focus is on his family, his future role, and the monarchy itself. And Harry is just sort of an annoyance. And it's something where it's best if you don't talk.
When you step back and see the full picture, the palace's sudden edits don't look like casual maintenance at all. They look like a careful retreat. It feels like a calculated move to quietly distance themselves from shaky claims that could backfire. They're doing everything possible to avoid the embarrassment of having once supported stories that no longer hold up under scrutiny. Now, all that remains are clean, carefully edited profiles of Harry and Meghan, two figures who once symbolized a bold new era for the monarchy, now reduced to polished footnotes scrubbed of every hint of controversy.
In reference to what we've just discussed about Tina Brown, that Harry's rapprochement strategy.
The real irony is that this so-called cleanup only fuels even more curiosity. If there was truly nothing to hide, then why wipe away so many details? Why erase all those mentions of Meghan's supposed international career path or Harry's academic past? The silence just makes the mystery louder.
His future role and the monarchy itself. And Harry is just sort of an annoyance. And it's something where it's best if you don't talk about him, because then it brings up feelings.
Why keep Catherine and Sophie with full, glowing biographies while Harry and Meghan's pages are stripped down to the bone? Because the palace understands that every single line left online can be checked and challenged. And right now, those fact checks don't shine kindly on Meghan or Harry. The less that's written, the less they have to defend.
Frustrating, I'm sure, in many different ways. But again, this goes to the effect of why certain boundaries need to be put in place, certain hard lines need to be set in place for Harry, because William is just going to keep doing what
Prince William's words about Windsor slice straight through all the noise. Standing in the very place his grandmother cherished most, he spoke with a quiet sadness, admitting that he missed her every single day and called Windsor a reflection of her spirit. It wasn't a scripted soundbite or a polished PR performance. It was genuine emotion from a man who truly loved and admired his grandparents.
Reveals how he's been driven to rage by his brother's brazen return plan. And she writes,
That single moment revealed more about William's character than any glossy royal biography ever could. The contrast couldn't be more striking when you compare it to how Harry and Meghan's carefully crafted stories start falling apart the second anyone looks closer. William doesn't need to exaggerate or reinvent himself. His strength comes from honesty and tradition. But for Meghan and Harry, it's a different story entirely. Their habit of stretching the truth and spinning their image keeps chasing them down. Just look at Meghan's much-discussed claim about her dual degree.
monarchy and Harry's basically on a glorified press tour. And so because of that, William is not worried in the slightest in many ways. He doesn't even really probably care in some ways.
And here's the sting.
For years, that claim was held up as proof that Meghan was far more than just an actress, that she had the brains and academic weight to match her Hollywood ambition. But when Northwestern University itself refuses to back up that story, what does that really say? Yes, she studied theater. That much is true. But the so-called international relations degree appears to be something she crafted herself, a detail added to make her past sound more impressive.
On his resolve to cut Prince Harry out of his life in the wake of his brother's Clarence House rapprochement with the king, it's been...
And when alumni and staff quietly confirmed that Meghan wasn't even on campus during her final semester, that's not just a tiny mistake, it's a huge contradiction. Yet for years, that very version of her story sat proudly on the royal website, displayed as fact, until it suddenly vanished without a word. Harry's academic history isn't any clearer. His difficulties at Eton were no secret to those who knew him, but the monarchy needed him to appear polished and capable. Sandhurst doesn't accept candidates who fall short of their standards, yet somehow Harry managed to walk right through those gates.
As much as Harry does, or obsesses about it quite as much. But the challenge always is, and this is why I say the titles must be stripped and probably places in the line of succession. Harry is inserting himself into place.
The teacher who allegedly wrote Harry's essay and later lost her job over it created such a stir that the school was forced to compensate her. That isn't hearsay. It's part of the record. And instead of confronting the issue head on, the institution closed ranks, pretending the scandal never existed. Now, all these years later, with the public spotlight hotter than ever, those uncomfortable truths are being quietly scrubbed away. And the timing couldn't be more telling. These edits didn't appear by chance, they surfaced in 2025, right as Harry and Meghan keep pushing their image deeper into pop culture and public debate.
Yes, since the Sussexes launched Operation Bring Harry Back In From the Cold, and while the Duke's 12-month strategy has come to fruition with his father, he is no longer closer to contact with his brother. Indeed,
Meghan has continued to double down on her glossy version of high school nostalgia, talking about grad night trips that never actually took place. She's leaned heavily on those Argentina tales that make her seem bold and worldly, even though the country was in crisis at the time, practically a danger zone. These aren't innocent embellishments, they build a completely false image of who she really was. And the truth? It all crumbles the moment anyone starts looking too closely. So now, with patience running thin, the palace has stopped defending her stories altogether. They've cut the rope and walked away.
With Zelensky and those sorts of things. And so it's best for the monarchy if they make the really hard lines clear. And I'm sure that's what William really wants, but he needs his father to move on that. And Charles just...
From the moment Meghan stepped...
That silence says everything. For a royal family so deeply obsessed with image and legacy, choosing to erase details instead of defending them isn't just cleaning up, it's a strategy. It's quiet damage control wrapped in dignity. That decision alone reveals that some claims are simply too fragile to stand under public scrutiny. Meanwhile, look at the official bios of Catherine and Sophie. They're still glowing, untouched, and overflowing with detail. The contrast couldn't be more obvious, and it tells you exactly where the palace wants the spotlight to shine.
Burning with a renewed determination to rid the monarchy of the Sussexes for good. Exactly. Good work, William. That's what you should be doing. Here's the well-placed insight.
Their profiles remain complete, detailed, and entirely intact because there's nothing scandalous hiding in the shadows. Catherine's education, her time at St. Andrews, her charity work, even her personal interests, every detail holds up under scrutiny. Sophie's journey from public relations to becoming the Countess of Wessex is equally solid, with no contradictions or invented tales in sight. That's the royal standard, the image of integrity the palace wants the world to see. And when you compare, it's painfully clear who measures up and who doesn't. But beyond that, there's an even bigger story unfolding.
Simply doesn't seem like he wants to. Although he should have more evidence now that, given the Guardian article, that that's the direction they need to go in.
But the thing is, Brittany, Harry is, again, I'm going to use that word.
Meghan built her entire public persona around being self-made, driven, and worldly. She leaned heavily on tales of glamorous internships, impressive dual degrees, and daring international adventures as proof of her global polish. But when those stories start to fade away, what remains is something much simpler. A California woman who chased an acting career, found success on Suits, and later created a lifestyle blog. And truthfully, there's nothing shameful about that. It's a genuine, respectable path built on real work and ambition.
Telling telegraphers, William is back at the point where if you mention Prince Harry in his presence, he would throw you out of the room. He is doubling down. She writes, in reference to what we've just discussed about Tina Brown.
But for Meghan, that simple, grounded story never seemed to be enough. She felt the need to embellish it, to polish every corner, to make it sparkle like something far grander than it really was. Harry, on the other hand, has always leaned on his image as the charming royal rebel, carrying just enough prestige to stay respectable. His military background, his service in Afghanistan, and, of course, the lasting glow of being Diana's youngest son, all of it gave him a certain allure, but those cracks have always been visible beneath the surface. His academic struggles, the wild party years, and the lingering scandals that followed him for so long.
Delusional, because he, even at this point, believes that he can make demands. And what I find so shocking...
Now, when you stack Harry's shaky history next to Meghan's questionable tales, it stops looking like a few harmless mistakes and starts to resemble a full pattern of smoke and mirrors. The palace isn't blind to it. They know exactly what they're dealing with. They understand that while public memory fades fast, the internet never forgets. Screenshots survive, videos resurface, and fact checkers are relentless. So by trimming down those royal bios, they're not just editing, they're protecting themselves. The fewer bold claims left in writing, the less there is for anyone to tear apart.
Harry's rapprochement strategy isn't over yet. Next on the Duke's wish list is some kind of public acknowledgement from the king.
It's pure damage control, nothing more and nothing less. And the real twist is that this move quietly validates what critics have been pointing out for years, that the fairy tale version of Harry and Meghan never truly reflected reality. Their official biographies were dressed up with half-truths, polished anecdotes, and selective memories. But the moment the questions got too sharp, the palace did what it always does. They stripped away the excess to protect the crown. Now, what's left behind is a carefully edited portrait the monarchy feels safe showing to the world. Flat, cautious, and entirely uncontroversial. And in the image-obsessed realm of royalty, safe is just another way of saying, we don't believe in this version of the story anymore.
Realised that all of his actions, and let's be honest, the actions of his wife over the past 6 years, or even longer, to be honest, have...
The quiet removal of Harry and Meghan's details from the royal website doesn't just reveal cracks in their personal stories, it exposes how the monarchy itself controls the narrative. This is an institution that survives on image, tradition, and a very careful kind of memory. They've always mastered the art of deciding which royal moments deserve the spotlight and which scandals should disappear into silence. Every edit, every omission is part of a centuries-old strategy of image management.
He would one day like his father to encourage the nation to accept him back again. It's what the late Queen did towards the end of her life when she asked the public to accept Camilla as Queen Consort. If Charles could do something...
What makes this moment stand out is how openly these deletions signal a loss of faith in two people who once carried enormous symbolic power. Harry wasn't just any royal, he was Diana's son, the beloved spare who gave the monarchy its human touch. Meghan was the glamorous outsider, the modern spark meant to bring diversity and change into an ancient institution. Together, they could have reshaped the royal image forever, but now they've become liabilities, and the website quietly confirms that truth for all to see. The contrast grows even sharper when you look at how others who step back, like Andrew or even Edward, are still handled with far more caution and care.
Deeply negative one, but he still thinks that he can be saved, and that it's his papa who has the responsibility to somehow turn around a public mood, a strong public...
Take Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice, for example. They're not listed as working royals either, but there's no confusion or hidden agenda behind that. They've never tried to present themselves as something larger than life. They support charities, attend family events, and live relatively private, grounded lives. There are no inflated claims about their studies, no dramatic tales of globe-trotting ambition. Their quiet absence from the royal spotlight feels simple, transparent, and drama-free. But Harry and Meghan's removal? That feels like a full-blown cleanup operation, scorched earth style, designed to erase every questionable detail that once filled their pages.
Completely exiled for good when William becomes king. While it's hard to guess from the spiteful interviews he's given in recent years, Harry does want back in. Harry reads his own polls, he knows he's one of the least popular royals and wants...
What makes this moment especially damaging for Meghan is how every new revelation chips away at the carefully managed image she's spent years trying to protect. When she spoke about celebrating grad night at Disneyland, her own high school said that trip never even happened. When she described her glamorous embassy internship, people who were actually there told a completely different story. And when she mentioned earning an international relations degree, Northwestern's own program structure quietly proved otherwise. None of these claims alone might have destroyed her credibility, but together, they create a pattern that's hard to ignore. They point to an image built less on solid truth and more on relentless ambition and reinvention.
It can't happen. I think even if there is some type of acknowledgement from Charles publicly, it's not going to change how the British public feel. Because actually, the British public have far more...
For Harry, the palace's quiet edits have reopened old questions about his academic past. If he really needed help just to scrape through Eton, if a teacher's essay helped push him along, and if Sandhurst quietly relaxed its standards to let him in, then the legend of Harry, the strong, capable soldier prince, starts to look fragile. Yes, he served, and yes, he wore the uniform with pride, earning genuine respect for his time in the field. But even that legacy now sits under a shadow, challenged by the details that no longer appear on the official record.
Meghan doesn't care about the UK perception, and that's fine, but Harry does. However, the source adds to Charlotte Griffiths in the Mail, William is more determined than ever to cut Harry.
But the foundation beneath that respect starts to look unstable when the palace quietly erases the background around it. It suggests they know those buried details could resurface at any moment, and they'd rather not risk another public explosion. For years, much of the press tiptoed around these contradictions, either afraid of being called unfair or eager to keep the Sussex story profitable. But that protection can't last forever. The cracks are widening, and the polished image that once shielded Harry and Meghan is starting to give way under the weight of its own inconsistencies.
Of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip than they even do the current reigning monarch. But this is how Charlotte Griffiths, who, again, just a quick reminder, she has acted as Harry's propagandist now for nearly a year.
Independent researchers, former staff members, and even school alumni are now stepping forward, uncovering the very details Meghan and Harry likely hoped would never see daylight again. With each new revelation, critics hardly need to dig or exaggerate. They simply point to the palace's own quiet deletions as undeniable evidence. Those edits speak louder than any headline, showing that even the monarchy no longer seems to stand behind the Sussex version of events. The message is clear, and it's devastating. The palace isn't protecting them anymore.
Harry off. It infuriates William that Harry has pulled off a 12-month master plan to re-ingratiate himself. Palace aides are said to be.
What's most intriguing is how all of this now ties directly into public trust. For years, Meghan and Harry framed their exit from royal life as an act of survival, driven by racism, bias, and the palace's cold refusal to support them. And to be fair, there's truth in parts of that story. The monarchy has long been known for shielding the institution first and its members second. But when the couple's personal narratives start crumbling under fact checks, their wider mission becomes harder to defend. If someone appears willing to stretch the truth about degrees, jobs, or timelines, how much confidence can people really have in their bigger claims? That question doesn't fade. It lingers in the public mind like a shadow, refusing to disappear.
Acted as Harry's propagandist now for nearly a year, gets information fed directly to her by his friends in the UK. This is how she explains what Harry wants from the king.
Meanwhile, the palace seems to be playing the long game with quiet confidence. They don't need to release statements or engage in messy public battles. All they have to do is wait and let time do what it always does, dull the noise. By deleting those detailed biographies, they're sending a subtle but powerful message to future readers, historians, and reporters alike. Only the polished version matters now. What isn't recorded will eventually fade from memory. It's a strategy the monarchy has used before to survive scandal, and history shows it often works beautifully.
William's doubling down mentality marks a setback for him personally. While for some time now, William's anger had cooled to the point of indifference over his brother, which was healthy for his mental well-being. That's another source. William had got to the...
The difference now is the sheer scale of the digital age. Screenshots travel faster than press releases, YouTube channels pick apart every timeline, and no inconsistency ever truly disappears. The monarchy might control what appears on their official website, but they'll never be able to rewrite the internet itself. What's left behind is a sharp, unfiltered portrait of two lives reshaped under constant examination. Meghan wanted to be admired as cultured, educated, and exceptional. Yet, the facts reveal a hardworking actress from modest roots who climbed through persistence and opportunity. Harry dreamed of being remembered as the fearless soldier prince, but the questions about how he reached that title expose a man lifted as much by privilege as by genuine effort.
For a lot, they do disagree a lot. So I think Charles may well encourage William, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I do know something that Harry wants is some kind of public acknowledgement, on his shopping list.
None of this makes Harry and Meghan villains. It simply makes them human. But the real issue is that they tried to sell a myth instead of standing proudly in the truth. And once a myth begins to unravel, it almost never repairs itself. In the end, those quiet website edits are more than a bit of royal housekeeping. They're a warning shot. The monarchy is stepping back, removing the safety net, and forcing Harry and Meghan to survive on their own narratives. Without the institution there to hold them up, the gap between their crafted image and the reality beneath it is starting to show wider than ever.